Welcome to the Mentors and Moguls podcast, your source for the inside scoop from some of the world's most accomplished business leaders, athletes, and creatives on how they've achieved success. I'm Heather Stone, a serial entrepreneur with a passion for helping others to overcome challenges and discover their untapped potential. Join me and our guests as we teach you how to break through those barriers on the way to crushing your goals. In each episode, I dive into a new topic with an inspiring mentor to find out exactly how they overcame obstacles, slayed self-doubt, and achieved their goals. Today's expert mentoring session is about to start, so grab your pen and let's dive in. Today, we're talking all about gaming, and yes, we're talking about girls in gaming. In 2003, when she was just 12 years old, Bonnie Burton became a Major League Gaming's first professional female gamer. She went on to pursue a career in game development, and she's now at Bungie working on the Destiny franchise. I'm so excited that Bonnie is here to share her thoughts about girls, gaming, and what is in the future for her and women in this sport. Hey, Bonnie, how are you?
Hey, Heather. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, I followed your career a little bit. I see that you've been on Forbes 30 Under 30 in 2020. Tell me a little bit about how that came to be and how does that feel?
Yeah, that was very unexpected, but I was honored to make the list. Basically, I've been working at Bungie for the past 6.5 years now. And they emailed me just kind of asking about my accomplishments. So I went ahead and shared with them kind of my career in gaming. And I was selected to be on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. So, yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Let's take you back a little bit. How in the world did you get into gaming in the first place? Because typically the stereotype is that it's a boys' sport, but you proved everybody wrong. Tell us about that.
Yes. Yeah, it typically has been very male dominated. I actually started really early because I had two older brothers. I wanted a GameCube for Christmas. I vividly remember pleading with my mom for a GameCube, and the boys wanted an Xbox. They outnumbered me, so we got the Xbox, and we started playing this game called Halo, and it wasn't a game that I typically play, but I wanted to play with them. So I started playing with them, and we eventually started going to small tournaments. There wasn't actually online gaming at that point, so we had to connect. We had to kind of configure it and do all this. I think it was Xbox Connect is what we used. And so we were connecting with people through that. We started doing local tournaments. Mm-hmm. And then eventually that's when Major League Gaming was founded. And we started going to these Major League Gaming events, and they started to grow over the years. And that's kind of how I got my start. Yeah.
Well, what did you tell your girlfriends when you said, I'm going to go to a tournament as for gaming? Did they look at you funny, or were they also into something like this?
No, they thought it was great. I actually would bring them with me. So a couple of my friends, they would come with me to the events, and, we would split our time between going to the event and going to the hotel pool and having fun. And they enjoyed it as well. It was a very cool community, and everyone was kind of close knit. So everyone was very welcoming.
Well, that's great to hear. So what attracted you to e-gaming? Was it camaraderie, the competition, the connection with others? What is it that really drives you and drags you in to want to be part of that group?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above, really. I've always been kind of competitive. Before my brothers and I got into these Halo competitions, we actually competed in Pokemon card game competitions. And so there's this level of competition that was really fun. But then also there was the connection and the camaraderie with other people and being a part of this community. It was just really great because you're talking to them online, and then you get to, have these events where you kind of all get to have competition, but then connection at the same time.
There's so many things that are misunderstood about gaming. I have to admit, many years ago, I got my son an Xbox, and he would play with people all around the world. And I thought that was very interesting. Yet there was so much as a mother that was unknown. I think there's a lot of misunderstood aspects when it comes to, let's say, Call of Duty or some of the violent games. What do you say to that when people say, oh, gaming leads to maybe not such great behavior? What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think it's all about, understanding the context of that situation and balance, right? Like anything can road to bad things. So I don't pretend that gaming can't lead to bad things, but the majority of the time, gaming can be a great outlet. It's all about play, and play is how we learn and it's how we connect. And so it can create this sense of community. It can also challenge us in certain ways, and kind of grow our brains and stuff. So I think really with those people, I understand the concern, but you also have to look at like, okay, what are all the positives and what is this doing and what is this creating? And you look at what gaming has done now, and there's so much charity involved. There's streaming now. There's these tournaments. There's so many different avenues that you can explore with. Really is a whole industry. It's not this kind of sideshow that it once was.
Right, right. Well, you and I both know Zach Weigel, and he's taken gaming to a whole new level with his Gamers for Giving and made a difference with kids and hospital beds. And it's just such a positive experience all the way around. I know a few people that I've met through research in the gaming and getting involved in some other organizations. And they have told me that it was a great social outlet where they weren't the football player, or maybe they weren't in any other club, but this club is super fun and it's really drawn them out, ironically. And they said it's helped them develop their social skills because they can talk to people all day long. And just because you're not next to them, it's been a great, great attribute for them. You agree?
Yeah, that's absolutely one. Developing social skills, especially for me as I was going through, when I started competing, I was 11. And when I stopped competing, I was 17. So I was really going through those crucial years. But absolutely, that's like I was saying, it's kind of how we can form connections through play, right? And so gaming is one of those avenues where we can develop those social skills and develop that connection with one another.
Right, right. What attributes do you think best lend themselves for someone to succeed in gaming, whether it's at a professional level like you or just friendly competitions? Anything to look for in someone?
It depends what the person wants to do. But I think, skills that are always applicable are taking the initiative and being ready to dig in. And then also having a sense of creativity, because you still need to be creative in your problem solutions. And I think another one would be flexibility and understanding that the game industry as a whole is still growing and evolving. And so you need to be able to adapt and be able to kind of roll with things, right? So being able to deal with ambiguous situations is also a good skill to have as well. And then also just ready to have fun and a good attitude. That's an important one because we work, at least I work in games, and most of the people who work in games, they're all about fun. And so bringing that kind of attitude of lightness and just fun to the table, I think is a great one as well.
Well, very fun. So if you're out there testing and helping to create games and giving ideas, I would imagine that your world and the world in your immediate office, so to speak, there are no limits. There are no boundaries. You can kind of fantasize and create your own imaginary world and create something. That must be really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the cool thing about being a game developer is that you can do this sort of blue sky dreaming. You can create anything you want. There's this whole fantasy element to it. So, and that's part of the process that I love is taking something from an idea in your head and making it something real and tangible. It's awesome.
So where do you see the future for girls in gaming, let's say in the next 2 to 5 years? Where would you like to see it? Where do you think it's going to go?
I think we're going through a shift. And I mean, we kind of have been going through a shift continually over the past 20 years or so in the industry, where before it was novelty that a girl or a woman was into games. And I don't really feel like that's the case anymore. It's a little more common. And I think in the future, we're going to see more women entering the game industry. And I would love to see the impact that has on the games that are being put out. I think also women are also realizing that like before there used to be this definition like, oh, you have to play these shoot 'em up games or you have to do this. But what I like to tell people is like, no, you're probably a gamer and you don't even consider yourself one. Like I played Neopets when I was really young and created websites and did all of that. And like to me, that is part of it, you know. So I think in the next 2 to 5 years, the space around gaming is going to broaden. I think women are being welcome in the space right now, and I need to see it continue to grow and more women to continue to enter and then see what impact that has on games as a whole, especially in game development.
Right.
Today's episode is brought to you by Frontrunner Films is an award-winning one-stop shop for professional video production. We believe in finding the authentic story of each brand and translating it to film. Our focus on humor and heart allows clients to stand out against the competition while showcasing their status as industry leaders. That's what good video can do.
So let's talk about having an impact and things shifting. COVID-19 comes on the scene and all of a sudden sequestered to their homes, now for 6 months, so to speak. And gaming is actually probably one of the safest things you can do to keep yourself occupied, to keep connected. Do you think that has hastened the change or the shift even further in gaming because people are looking for things to do right at their fingertips in their homes?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think what's really cool is, like you said, gaming can provide this outlet and it can provide that connection that people are for right now. Instead of getting on a Zoom call or Facebook or FaceTime, whatever it is, and holding the screen in front of you and just talking, you can actually, connect to your console. You're playing something with somebody, even though they might be across the country, wherever they are. So I think it has shined a spotlight on, hey, this is something you can do to connect with other people right now, and it's safe. And so I think more people are understanding that, like, hey, this is a great avenue to connect with each other. Mm-hmm. And I think the pandemic has definitely shown us that.
STEM is a big part of my life. I think it's a big part of your life. How do you think girls in STEM or even boys in STEM, how does that help people in the gaming industry, whether they're playing it, competing, or they're like you now, they're building games and creating? Should STEM be a big focus? Should people take a second look at that if they want to pursue any kind of a career in the gaming realm?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely in the advantage of someone to have some sort of STEM background, because what that does is that your logical thinking. Mm-hmm. Thinking about game development, it requires those logical skills. So it requires, either programming, scripting, or even just thinking through a process logically, as a producer and thinking about how all these parts come together. It's very logical, at the same time. So I think STEM is absolutely a great place to start. And people could also try to get other certifications if they don't necessarily want to get a 4-year degree or 2-year degree. They can always look at certifications to try to bolster their resume to get into the game industry.
Well, you mentioned degrees. So where should someone start? Let's say, college isn't for me right now for many reasons. Where can I start to dive into the gaming world so I can hopefully support myself in the gaming profession? Where should they go first?
That's a great question, because if you talk to people in the gaming industry, everyone has such a different path. And so the first thing I want to say is that there are many paths into the industry. The second thing I want to say is, if you want to get in, don't be disheartened if you get denied a few times. It took me, I think it was about a year of applying, and I had a computer science degree. So, don't be discouraged, keep it up. And my best advice would be to find a way to stand out. And so I think you can do that through a number of different ways. First is by, having some sort of STEM background will definitely help you. Or even if you go to like a school specifically for game development, that would help as well. But even bolstering that with more certifications, like becoming a Scrum Master or getting certified in project management if you want to go the production route. If you want to be in design or QA, leaning on scripting languages and building your competency around those tools. And then another way would also be, and I would strongly recommend this, is work, because the industry seems like it is big. It is actually very small. And so try to find ways to reach out to people, whether that's through LinkedIn connections, if there's like a Facebook group, find ways to meet people and then see if they know somebody or can refer you to somebody at the company that you want to work at. And my third piece of advice is, if you're going for, my sister, when I was trying to apply, she was like, you keep going for these big, sexy jobs. And she's like, you need to start smaller. And it was great advice because it was true. I was kind of aiming a little too high, and I had to kind of, earn my stripes first. And so apply for the positions that are appropriate for you, those entry-level positions, try to get an internship. And then from there, if you get experience at one place, even if it isn't your dream company, get that experience, put that on your resume. And then in a few years, once you have experience under your belt, that's what matters. And then you can kind of prove yourself out and get to your dream position.
Right. So the jobs for you coming up, I would imagine you've learned something, even though it wasn't your end all be all dream job. The first job you took, I can imagine you learned some very valuable lessons there, maybe that you didn't expect to learn, that helped you climb up to the next rung. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, one of the first jobs I took out of college was an internship. And I ended up becoming full-time, but I did leave to go back to school. And that was with the Department of Veterans Affairs. And it wasn't in game development at all. But go through that it really solidified for me that, okay, to be in tech, because I've tried this other thing. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And now I know that I want to go in tech. And then once I decided that, I actually ended up on a contract. It was a contract test position, and it was only for 3 or 4 months. And doing that really showed me it solidified the direction for me. It gave me some experience into how game development worked. And then I could kind of use that as a launching pad to continue learning and further myself.
Well, that's great to hear. Well, let's talk about Bungie just for a second.
Yeah.
You are working on Destiny franchise. We don't want to give away anything new that you're working on, but what to date that has been released, what's your favorite part about working at Bungie, or what is your favorite product personally that they've put out that you've helped work on?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I started at Bungie, I think it was a few months before Destiny launched. And so I have worked on Destiny since the very beginning. And I have worked on that game for 6.5 years now straight. So it's been really cool for just to watch how Destiny has evolved. And what I love about Bungie is that it's just full of really creative, talented, and down-to-earth people, honestly. And when you're working with people you like and enjoy, it changes everything. It makes the experience that much better. So when you feel like you're creating something cool and you're pushing forward an industry, and I feel like Destiny is doing that, and then you're getting to do it with people that you really enjoy working with, that's pretty much dream job right there, right?
Fun. Very fun. What do you hope to do personally? Is there any goal that you particularly would say, I'd really like to reach for this? It would be really fun to be a part of that. Do you have anything in mind at this point?
Yes. So I am actually going through certification right now and training to become a coach. So kind of like a life or career coach. And I would actually love to work with gamers to improve their overall lives, and also perhaps work with postgraduates who are interested in getting into the industry. Or just helping them find their direction. So that's kind of my next goal here, that I'm pretty excited about it.
Okay, Bonnie. Well, I can see maybe you and I are going to do something, collaborate down the road, because I love that path, of course, and you would be fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Well, for any young girl who's listening that says, I want to be the next Bonnie Burton, can I call you Xena? That's what was your name when you started out?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
To be the next Xena. Last piece of advice, what would you say? As soon as you finish listening to my wonderful interview, I'm going to do this. What would you tell them to do?
Don't count yourself out or don't view yourself as different. My best piece of advice is to look at someone, and if they're doing something, think, if they can do it, I can do it. So if you admire someone, if they can do it, if you admire me, if I did it, then you can surely do it as well.
Love that. Love that. Well, Bonnie, thank you for letting us take a little peek into your world of gaming. I think we'll do a follow-up with you and see where you are in 6 months. But thank you for sharing your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
That's all for this week. Thank you for listening to the Mentors and Moguls podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to rate and review the Mentors and Moguls podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find bonus video episodes at mentorsandmogulspodcast.com or check out our events page and our blog at heatherrstone.com. Until next time, make it a great day.